Well, this is the Jeep Gladiator, the famous American manufacturer's contender in the local dual cab ute market, and this is the Rubicon model grade, the top shelf, the real hardcore off-road version. Let's have a look around it. It's just the classic 7-slot grille there, unmistakably a Jeep, and just, you know, a lot of heavy-duty off-road equipment on this one. It's got all sorts of armour or skid plates underneath to protect the drivetrain, and that includes these really strong rock rails along the side which double as side steps, of course. Big 17-inch alloy wheels and 32-inch BF Goodrich off-road tyres with a really aggressive off-road tread pattern, as you can see. And the interesting thing about this, even though it's a dual cab, you can see that roof there, it actually lifts off. The whole roof lifts off, the doors can come off, and even the windscreen can be folded forward like the old World War II Willys Jeep, so you can drive it around as a full convertible, fully stripped down if the weather's nice and you want to go off-road touring. Let's have a look inside. Well, as you can see, it's quite an impressive array of instrumentation here. Glow up there on the driver's information display. You've got the infotainment system here, all the heater and climate controls, and down here is the serious end of the business. This is where all the off-road gear is. Now this has got, I'm not sure if you can see it, but front and rear diff locks on this panel here. So if you push it down, that just locks the rear locker, and if you push it up, it locks both lockers. So that's serious bit of off-road equipment in the toughest of all-terrain situations. A button over here says Off-Road Plus. That's another button you can push, which basically optimizes throttle response, gear shifts, those sort of things to make it operate at its optimum in off-road conditions. And there's also a button down here which is sway bar disconnect. It electronically disconnects the front sway bar or anti-roll bar to maximize the amount of wheel travel when you're off-road. And over here, you don't see these very often now. Most people have gone to like a sort of electronic control dial on the console for controlling four-wheel drive. But the good old Jeeps, you still got the big manual lever, and there's 4 different modes here. The two-wheel drive high range, 4-wheel drive high range auto. So that's auto on demand. So it's basically rear-wheel drive, but if the system senses a loss in traction, it sends drive to the front axle, and that's really good when you're driving on like icy or snowy roads, that sort of thing. Then you've got conventional 4-wheel drive high range, and then 4-wheel drive low range. So it's all done with a big manual lever. It's a real blast from the past, but Jeep customers love it. So it's quite a nice interior, really. It's pretty well appointed. It's got full leather seats as well, and because you can turn it into a full convertible, and you might get caught out in a storm, or you might be going through a deep river, it's a full hose out interior too, removable carpets, removable floor mats, the whole deal. And here's the rear seat, and it's surprisingly spacious when you climb aboard. I'm, you know, pretty tall, about 6'2", and with the driver's seat in my position, I've got plenty of leg room here. These seats are all leather as well. Nice big bottle holders down here on the floor, and they've actually been pretty smart with storage too, because these are a 60-40 split, and if you lift the base cushion, that stays up, and then you've got another storage compartment here, and you open that, and there's all sorts of little storage pockets under there to hold all sorts of stuff, as you can see, like a tow ball and what have you. And then you pull up this side, and it's the same deal. Little compartment hidden under here, and even more storage space. So that's pretty smart use of space by Jeep in the cockpit, and that keeps them out of the weather as well. It's got these nice big flares here covering these huge off-road tyres and wheels. The load tub has got a spray-in tub liner, which is good, and the tonneau cover just stays in that. It's fixed at the front, so it just stays in that position. When you need to carry something, you just roll it forward, and it's held up there by these Velcro strips. So Reasonable sized load tub. It's got lighting as well, and it's got this adjustable load rail system in addition to the fixed load anchorage points, so plenty of options there. Payload isn't huge though, it's only 693 kilos, so under 700 kilos, which is fairly typical, I guess, when you've got these vehicles with these specialised long travel soft riding 4-coil suspension, very similar to the Ford Raptor, which doesn't have much more than 700 in payload, so they're pretty similar there. It's also long too. I mean, look at how long it is. When you look at it from the side, it's about 5.6 meters long, and the wheelbase, the distance between the wheelbase is about 3.5 meters. So it's about 300 millimeters longer than a Ford Ranger dual cab. So she's fairly sizable in length. But just some nice detailing along the body here. And this is one that's really interesting. This little badge down here, if you can see it, says trail rated, and that's something that Jeep puts on vehicles that have been put through the ringer on the famous Rubicon trail in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. So you know she's a serious off-roader. Big Rubicon stickers on the front, paying homage to that amazing trail in the United States. So there she is. Well, we can't take her on the Rubicon Trail, but we can take her for a quick run on the road. So let's go and see how she drives. Okay, here she is, the Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. It's powered by a 3.6 litre Pentastar petrol V6 engine, which has 209 kilowatts of power and just under 350 newton meters of torque, and then it's connected to the 8-speed torque converter automatic. Now, even though 350 newton meters may not sound like a lot of torque in comparison to sort of turbo diesel rivals, it really has very good lively acceleration, and it's quite a good thing to drive given its serious off-road focus. So on the road, one of the first things you notice is these off-road tyres, these big BF Goodrich tyres. They've got a very aggressive off-road tread pattern in keeping with the intentions of this vehicle, and at speeds under 60 kilometers an hour it's okay, but if you get to speeds 60 kilometers an hour and over, you could really hear these tires howl. They howl quite loudly when you're on the road, so you're certainly aware of the aggressive teeth you've got under this vehicle. The other thing too you really notice is the incredibly supple ride. Very, very much in the mold of the Ford Ranger Raptor. You just hit these bumps and it just floats over them. It's got really soft, long travel coil spring suspension, and you just got that feeling when you're driving along like you're floating on a cushion of air. So it's really interesting, the similarities between the ride quality of this vehicle and the Ranger Raptor. If there is a negative with this vehicle, it's the lack of footroom in the footwell. The transmission tunnel is so wide that it actually uses up a fair bit of space in the footwell, and there's no room there for obviously a left footrest, and you quite often find yourself fishing around for a place to rest your left foot. You do get used to it after driving it for a while, but it's less than ideal. And that's really the only major criticism I can level at this vehicle from a driving standpoint. So the verdict, well, for a tradie wanting a big payload capacity, the Gladiator Rubicon has less than 700 kilograms payload rating, which might be a bit small for some people wanting to have a vehicle that serves in the dual roles of weekday workhorse and weekend escape machine. But it's interesting when you compare it to something like the Ranger Raptor, because I've seen quite a number of Raptors being used by tradies. So obviously for some of these guys, having a relatively small payload isn't a problem. And when you look beyond that, there's a number of similarities between this vehicle and the Ranger Raptor. They're both pretty close in price. They're both dual cab utes, and this one's got something special because you can take the roof off. They both have long travel coil spring suspension, which provides an extraordinary ride quality. And they've both got similar tow ratings. This one's 2.7 tons of brake trailer, whereas the Raptor is 2.5 tons, and fairly similar payload ratings as well, with the Raptor being about 50 k's more than the Jeep. So if you take all those things into consideration, if you're looking for this type of vehicle and you're considering the Ranger Raptor, I reckon it would actually be worthwhile just taking one of these things for a test drive and having a look over it, because you might find that it ticks most of the boxes and what you're looking for. Well, we hope you liked this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and by all means comment. It'll help us grow this channel and keep more reviews coming. Thanks guys.